Alrighty guys, welcome to the second part of the placement guide. This will be all the tier 2s. So first up we've got Ogre. Ogre is not a good YOLO, it is a suicide YOLO, but hey, it can be nice to know how to play this, and it feels like shitty meat wagon, I guess. So what I like to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 Ogres, 150 value level 1. Doesn't hold warriors, league's fairly hard. If you're worried about warriors, then like sure, add an ogre, start 3-0, add like 3 ogres, start 2-0, big mid versus warrior, but for me with the suicide YOLO, I would generally rather just push as much as possible, so I would take this 4-0 start, right? Level 2, you're going to need 1 gold to do this, so boost in a militia if your team's not doing something else. 1, 2, 3. Right? 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, 4. And it's worth noting that at this point you're getting pretty capped on farms, so you actually need a farm for level 3 if you do this my way. In order to avoid this, I would strongly suggest mixing Ogre with something else, right? Yeah, with really like something else, and it'll feel probably a lot better if you've just got like one bigger unit, whatever it is, and then a bunch of ogres behind. That is how I would normally play this unit if I had to play this unit. So it doesn't even have to be something good, right? It can just be something like a TOT, for example, a regular TOT, and that way you just don't have to get the farm for level 3. Let's pretend you do it this way and the farm doesn't matter. Bloody hell, needed to sneeze. Alright, so you click this button, right, and you're going to want to build about 390 value of Ogre. 390 value of Ogre for level 3. So, one thing you might notice isn't here is a wall clog, right? The other thing you might notice is that these two are directly next to each other, not diagonally. So, firstly, we'll watch level 3 with the diagonals. It's worth noting that this build is like not good versus any send on any early level, right? Or any level full stop, but I think that's fine. So if you watch with the ogres back down here in the diagonal, you see they still haven't attacked and they take a long time, right? Because they're quite a long way away. So we'll change that up to here and here. Whoop. Without that extra little kickoff. There we go. And just have a watch at these two ogres right now instead. Instead of basically not even realizing that creeps are there, they're going to run forwards in time. Right, they'll get there more quickly and they'll be, you know, fighting with your ogres, which is what you want. You don't want them being lazy at the back and doing nothing for any length of time. So as you can see, easy hold here. It's probably one of the luckiest holds I've seen with that. But, I'll just show you. See if we do an ogre here. So we'll change that one and we'll go like here. So let's pretend just this back ogre transmitted to the front. And we have a wall clog, right? Is that good? Well, let's have a look. See, this ogre runs forwards and a lot of the creeps pull to the wall here. I got a little split off here, which is actually quite lucky. If you don't get that little split off, it's actually really bad for you because your ogres will waste a lot of time trying to find creeps to attack. So this looks totally fine here, but as you can see we're doing quite a bit worse because what the wall clog does is it promotes focus damage. And by what I mean by that is, more of the creeps are around the wall, right? If you've got a wall clog unit. That will mean your damage is more focused because a bunch of the creeps that are at the back won't be really breachable for your units. So you'll tend to focus your damage among less creeps, right? So it's good to do damage. What it's not good to do is share damage, right? Because this ogre's going to get focused, but because a lot of creeps are on the wall, first ogre's going to die, then like second, then third, then fourth, and there'll be a little bit of damage share. but your units are mostly going to die one after the other, which is not what you want with melee units, right? So this is the build I would recommend. The damage share among the front line of the ogres is really important. Then all we're going to do is keep spreading our build out. 450 value is the safe setup for level 4. If you don't care about leaking, 420 value, hold about half the time. So if we have a look at our 420 value setup, we'll see how we go. You can see, pretty lucky focus here, like only one got sniped. Besides that, there's some damage share going on. But you know, maybe we hold, maybe we don't hold. Right? And it's down to luck. You can see this time we're able to hold, yep. So 420 value, I wouldn't trust it. And I'm actually not sure if we are holding here. You can see it gets quite close, right? Looks like we're holding, but it is indeed close. So, you know, risk 420 if it seems fine to risk 420, otherwise get the 450. You're not going to be needing another farm either way. So, let's say we've got 6 more wisps, got 21 food, so we've got 2 food to play with. Build whatever the fuck for level 6, right? Because you can hold / do well on 6, once again 6 on debug super hard, not going to show that to you, because it's not a realistic representation. But yeah, build like whatever for level 6, right? Don't bother building for 5 really. If you've got this many ogres, then you're just committed to full leaking 5 and suiciding, right? If you're mixing them in some manner, then absolutely, but that's, you know, that's your prerogative. That'll change game to game, and there's no standard mix that utilizes more than like a couple of ogres, so I'm not gonna dive into that. So yeah, build whatever for 6, and then, you know, click these buttons lots of times. These two right here, these are going to be a friend when you're playing Ogre. So yeah, that's Ogre, and placement wise, you're going all for the damage share. Fuck the walk log, doesn't help you. And then after 5 creeps diagonally, I believe I talked about this in one of the tier 1 videos, but I'll reiterate it now. After like 5 melee units in diagonal, at least in the early game, if you keep building them diagonally, they really stop like acquiring the creeps that are on the wall, if that's where your first creeps are, right? And they tend to be really late to get into the fight, so they don't share damage if you build them with that diagonal down, and then they take a long time to start doing the damage, and it's just a bad time. So after 5 creeps, I would recommend either starting a 3rd line, you know, or like starting more vertical lines, or just going across horizontally. Because with this unit, we want the damage share all across the front of the build. We go horizontally. Also, ogres are fat, right? Look at this fucking thing. Big boy, right? But no, in all seriousness, their models are fairly bulky for how cheap they are and how many you're building here. So if you're building in 3 lines, you'll have a lot of blocking going on. We can actually just show that really quick. Let's pretend we change these 3 to here. And we can just watch these like back 4 ogres. And we'll see what they do, but chances are they're going to be running right around the sides. So yeah, they're kind of fat, getting blocked, running everywhere. This one still hasn't attacked. There we go. So see, that's a lot of wasted time. So yeah, that's the placement for the ogres. That's the ogre suicide YOLO. I don't like it, but it is very much playable. So yeah, on to the next one. Alrighty, next tier 2 unit on the list is Mr. Infantry. Yeah, so for level 1, you're going to get the Pyro. If you have a 20 gold or cheaper tier 1 that is not Landmine, feel free to build it, because Pyro is not bad versus warriors. Versus the new warriors, with the faster attack speed, he doesn't like them quite so much. But he's not bad versus warriors. If you got like Parasite or maybe something like Acolyte, then you can go mid if you're lucky, or you do relatively fine. So feel free to put that tier 1 in there if you think it's appropriate. Anyway, level 1 is the Pyro with 2-0, right? And then, yeah, figure out what you're going to do next. So, Pyro solo holds level 2. The issue with Pyro on level 2, versus no Ferb, he one-shots, so he's pretty good. versus Ferb, he 2-shots, so he fucking sucks, right? If you risk 230 value Pyro and get a Ferb, goodbye. Like, straight up, you're fucking out of there, right? So, the safe build is to, assuming no tier 1, just grab double infantry and stay to 0, right? The safe build, yeah, double infantry, and then your 1 pyro for level 3 most of the time. Unless, if you have the tier 1. Alright, actually no, I'll take that back. Double infantry with no tier 1, you need 4 gold for level 3. Double infantry with tier 1, you're not getting second pyro for 3. So, I think your options are double infantry, right? Or if you had the tier 1 for level 1, let's pretend we just, let's pretend this didn't cost 25 gold. Then we'd do something probably like this, right? And maybe if our tier 1 was better, like if it was an acolyte, we'd do something like this. Don't want 2 POs, right? You can also just go 1 infantry if you're thinking, yeah, they probably won't send, but maybe I want like a little bit extra, so I'm still fine. You can go 1 infantry, that's okay. But once again, the Ferb will really hurt this. It's also worth noting, like, the infantry is a bit awkward, because this placement, obviously not so good on 2, but, for your build on level 3, which is going to be double pyro, you don't want double pyro like this. So, let's assume safe build, right? Infantry, infantry. You're playing it nice and safe, that's okay. Level 3, you're going to get another pyro, right? Whether you have this or not, double pyro is pretty fine on level 3. Level 4, pyro's fucking good. It's a strong unit on level 4, right? That little 250 range, 225 range actually really helps it just not be stupid and run around everywhere. So it behaves nicely and it 2-shots evenly, so it's quite a nice unit there. Level 5, so you got a couple of options. You've got, especially if you didn't have this earlier, you can go 3rd pyro. Not a fan of 3rd pyro personally. These units are really bad on 8, with 3 pyro it's difficult to hold level 8. What you can do is grab a Zeus. The issue with grabbing a Zeus is this will leak fairly regularly, and we'll have a look right now. I don't play this unit a hell of a lot. I really try and avoid it. I don't like it. I think how weak it is. I think it's too weak a unit to justify not having very good early push. So you can see here, it's looking okay, but not great. I mean, we're 675 value and we're leaking 4 creeps. So as you can see, this is a dicey setup for level 5, but it's still probably the setup I'd recommend, especially if you've got an extra tier 1 in there, because I think the 3rd pyro is really bad. It's worth noting that, like, if you start with 1 pyro and then mix, that can actually work fairly well for you if you have decent units to mix with that. In fairness, a lot of the decent units are probably just going to be a better start than pyro. Nice thing about pyro, level 6, having 2 pyros, you're pretty safe. This is easy hold level 6. Way back when, back on 3.43 probably, it was like you'd see 5-1 builds pretty commonly with infantry, well, semi-commonly, and it'd look something like that for level 7. You don't see that too much anymore. Zeus and Pyro are very much out of favour. So I would say you just really try and get to 7-3 with this unit if you're playing nothing else. Building for 8, your best bet, Zeus actually behaves really nicely, so what we can do is grab something here on the range level, and let's hope you've got enough money for 1100 value. So, this is a ranged melee damage share setup here, and if you have a look, Zeus, because it's got long range, it walks forward a little bit, but it has long acquisition. Even though it's squishy, it's not going to tank that many creeps. As you can see, this Zeus used about 150 HP, 200 HP so far, and then the pyros start to tank for it, right? Which is exactly what you want. So the Zeus helps the Pyros, the Zeus in front helps the Pyros, but as you can see, Pyro really sucks. We're saying it might be worth building this Zeus here for better damage share. That's probably slightly better if you're going into level 8. But yeah, level 8 is this unit's big weakness, so not a massive fan of it. Anyway, in terms of placement, right, you're just wanting the Pyros to share damage nice and evenly early on. Okay, because they're fairly tanky units, and when you have good damage share, these units function a lot better, right? 1k HP, it's really not too bad. For the Zeus, it's super squishy, so you're building it behind, because as you saw on level 8, it walks forward. It walked forwards from here to about here, right, where it eventually died. So if that's on a melee level, your Zeus could get fully killed, right? And that's no good. Okay, I do not know why we just decided to spawn. Whatever. We decided to spawn, cool. So your Zeus walks forward, so be careful with that. You don't want it to just get killed by melee units. But on a ranged level, basically because on a melee level, right, these Pyros aren't guaranteed to actually walk in front of the Zeus. They might sit next to it or even slightly behind it, which is not okay. But on a ranged level like level 8, they're going to go in front. Then for level 9, if you're scared your Zeus gets sniped, put a tier 1 in front of it, that way the Pyros will always go in front of it, right? And you don't really need to be that scared about your Zeus getting sniped on level 9, because the zombies are slow and don't move very well. So chances are the Pyros will go in front of your Zeus on level 9 anyway. Then level 10 you will want something in front of that Zeus. You don't want the Zeus to die early on level 10. But yeah, that can just be an infantry even, is totally fine. So yeah, that's Pyro. Early game you go for the damage share, right? Between the Pyros. And then on level 8 is the level where you're going to want to use the ranged melee damage share, right? The ranged unit in front to tank some of its HP worth of damage to help out your melee units. Well, they're not melee technically, but to help out your frontline units, right? And just soak up a bit of damage for them, make them do a bit more efficient. This unit's bad on level 8, so try and mix it. I think honestly, most of the time I play infantry, it doesn't get upgraded for quite a while. But infantry itself, the little infantry, is quite strong, so that's a nice unit to mix. Zeus is a good damage dealer. I really like Zeus with ship in particular, since it's one of not very many units that will actually stay behind ship on level 4 and 8. And that makes it quite nice there. So ship infantry I think is an excellent setup. And yeah, that is the infantry. Would not play this unit on free, but hey, it is an option and options are important. So I'll see you in the next unit, with the next unit. Alrighty, on to our favourite unit, Aqua. I won't spend too much time with this one, since I think it's fairly solved by now. Anyway, first up, make sure you build your front Aqua somewhere where it's not going to be an issue. Personally, I like to build it here. And then build 1, 2, 3 Aquas, 200 value. I like building it here because I think with the slower warriors, if you hit them with the wall clog, it does a bit better. In a previous version, I liked 4 in a line, but I've been liking this placement now. Anyway, I would say the main fuck up you can do with Aqua is putting like your front Aqua, so your front wall clog Aqua here, and then doing like 1, 2, 3. So that way if you have like PD, Meridian, anything that wants to go behind Aquas, you really cramp them for space. So I would say start your Aquas here, like so. Alright, 200 value Aqua level 1, we'll do fine versus warriors. If you're not scared of level 2, you can go Aqua and tier 1, or just Aqua. But the safe way is definitely just to go 300 value Aqua, right? Do it like that. Level 3, not expecting Ascend, 350, expecting Ascend, or, you know, Send has a relatively... There is a realistic chance of the same coming, just go with the 400 value Aqua. It's totally fine, 4-0, happy days, right? Level 4, 400 value is totally fine. 350 plus a tier 1. Most of the time holds 350 no tier 1. Now you're getting risky. So I would not recommend 350 no tier 1 unless you're thinking that a League 4 will help your team in some way. Maybe you want to send 5. Anyway, next 400 value for, let's assume 400 value level 3 and 400 value level 4. For level 5 it's going to be 550, just like so. Nice and easy. Level 6, you can go 600. Personally, I'm actually a fan of going like 570 value level 6, right? And just leaving it up to a bit of luck. But if I've got like a carry roll or a roll that I think is worth, you know, keeping strong, then I'll start with an Aqua. For my placement though, I actually like to do it down here. So if you do that Aqua here, it starts being lazy and not actually, you know, and not actually recognizing it has to attack. If you do it here, whoops. Well, yeah, if you do it here, then it drags creeps off the wall, which is bad. Here is totally fine as well, though, but I prefer it a little back. So we're saying if I've got Hellraiser, I actually really like this spot for Hellraiser later on. Anyway, level 8, we just, you know, build some more Aquas. Maybe we go like, say, 800 value Aqua. And then level 9, we build presumably something that is not Aqua to help us hold 9, because level 9 is hard for Aqua. What I will do though is show you this really quickly. We're just going to build 2 Aquas here for the sake of value. We'll build 1 Oceanus and 1 tier 1 in the back. Let's just say for, you know, for argument's sake, this is our setup on level 9 because we didn't have much and we're 7-5 already, right? And we just pushed up, blah blah blah. Actually getting a split on these Aquas. A little bit unlucky, but you know, it's fine. So we're going to see how many creeps we leak with this setup, and then we're going to try it with the tier 1 in front. Because I really want to make a point that puts things in front of Aqua. Because heavy armor, right, still takes 90% damage from normal. You can see we leak however many creeps. We killed 25 creeps, yeah. We killed 25 creeps. Then if we put the tier 1 in front, just like so, we'll see the difference. Okay. Good job, we completed the level. You can see the difference, right? You put the tier 1 in front, and the creeps don't even spawn. Oh my god, it's magical. Anyway, the point I'm basically trying to make is that we didn't have the split on that side, which is a little bit lucky here as well. The point I'm trying to make is that Aqua is still a pretty good DPS unit on level 9. So if you have like even just little proton things that can tank for it, that's generally gonna like pay some dividends, right? And see, we kill a couple more creeps. It's not a massive difference, but I think the point stands that Aqua, decent DPS on 9, really squishy. The weakness of Aqua is that they die really fast on 9, right? So if you put things in front of them, even if they're like not very big and will die quickly, it's still going to help you out quite a bit. So I would strongly recommend that. But I would more strongly recommend not building 1050 Aqua, right? And trying to stop as early as you can. So if you've got good units to mix the Aqua with, I would really try and stay on like 600 Aqua and then build something else level 8 with your gold. Otherwise I'd really try and not go above 800 value of Aquas, right? Otherwise it just starts to be dead value. It makes it really hard to hold level 9. Yeah, so I would really just start building almost anything else, right? And just build like a fat frontline unit on level 9, even if it's crap, right? Even if I'm building like a Harlot or a Wendigo on level 9, I'd rather build that than like 3 Aquas. I think it will do you much better. Because, once again, Aqua, good DPS. On level 9, still totally fine DPS. 90% of its damage versus the armor type. But it takes, what, 120%? Yeah, 120%. That's no good. Anyway, at the end of, I guess, maybe all these videos, or at the end of just each tier, I'm going to show you a bunch of the common mixes. So make sure you stick around for that and stay tuned, because there are quite a few with Aqua, and I'll show you some little positioning text with those. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, next up, Servant or Slave Master. This unit was god awful and a bit of a joke for a long time. Now it's really solid. So, I'm going to show you the safe 2-0 start. You can do a 3-0 start, which looks like this, right? Or maybe even like this if you're not feeling super safe, because this has a small chance to leak level 1. But anyway, assuming we're going for the safe build, we buy one slave on our Slave Master, and we grab another servant here. The reason we do this is so that we can get the second Slave Master, bang, level 2. Right, 360 value, will do fine for send. I know that some people like to build servants like here, here, here sort of thing. Well, probably, you know. Probably like here, here for level 3. Level 3 and 4. I don't know if it's good, to be honest. It probably has some upside, but I'm not too experienced with that myself, so we're just going to play the more standard approach, right? So for level 3, you like vibe out how much you need, right? Assuming you've gone 360 for level 2, 400 will easily hold no send, and it'll take away the like bullshit RNG of this Slave Master getting like fully focused, and then you can leak with 360 on 3. So 400 value is like totally safe, right? And then you can go up to 520 value if you need to hold really hard. Most of the time you can just go 3-0 though and feel okay, but I mean, Blood Orc got buffed, he's a little scary, a little angrier now, so nothing wrong with going 480 to 520, right? Level 4, 520 value if you've got nothing to mix, right? If you got things to mix, then you can change that up, of course, but 520 value is going to be a safe hold level 4, because it's not very good. For level 5, 500, you're going to want 600 value just to be nice and safe, right? 560 value, I think if you have like perfect RNG and your Slave Master always 2-shots, because it's got a chance to 2-shot, chance to 3-shot. So if you get a bunch of 2-shots and then really nice damage share, then yeah, you can hold with 560, but just go 600. It's nice and safe, right? And then for level 6, you just build something else, right? You're going to want more than 640 value. Maybe you just build like a whatever tier 3, or you know, a slave and like this or something, and that'll do like fine, right? Moving on from there, level 8 is a good level for this unit, so you're just gonna build up whatever sort of value with 7-3. Level 9's a really weak level for this unit. Would not recommend going 7-5 unless you are prepared to leak very hard. I would say most of the time, if you've had a fine game, 7-4, build something else. Like if it's a magic damage unit, like magic, you know, DPS focused unit, damage dealer, then that's helpful. If it's like a really solid tank, maybe an IG, then that's going to be like really nice as well, right? But just Slave Masters and Servants, they really don't like level 9. So you've got to be quite careful there. Yeah. So that's the Slave Master YOLO. It's worth saying that this is not a bad hold option, right? If you have something like Time Stealer, Harlot, right? You can just start going Harlot's probably even, I would say, half a space back. So if you're going for a holder setup, we're going to pretend we're doing it with Harlots, but the positioning's going to be the same for Time Stealer, Harlot, and a bunch of other units. So say level, level 3 we were able to get away with 440 value, right? Then level 4, Harlot, level 5, Harlot, level 6, Harlot, level 7, Harlot, right? And that's going to be a pretty hard hold with Slave Master, right? Then maybe we get just another servant. Maybe we delete one of these Harlots and we have 1, 2, and we have lots of servants, right? And our slave masters are tanky. That's probably even better doing it like that. But you know, you focus on what you need, right? Whether you need more damage, just more harlot, more tankiness, more slave master. But what we can do is just send 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be pretty sizable send, right? With our 1180 value. We've got Ferb Hermit, Dark Troll Commander Spirit. So it's big send for sure. So you can see the half spot back harlots, they either tank a bit on the side or they go where this harlot goes. The idea is the slave masters and the servants tank, right? And the harlots don't tank nearly as much and they just get to do the damage. So you can see we're like, you know, we're getting kind of lucky, sniping things, blah blah blah. We're on the hermit early. All of these things help, but none of these things are required to hold. As you can see, 1180 value versus a really fucking big send. We have a solid mid, so well done to us. But you have the same positioning with, like, if you're doing it with Time Stealer. If you're doing it with Alpha Male, I'd probably position more behind the Slave Masters, but I'd have at least one out here, maybe two out here, to share the damage there. And you know, there are a bunch of other units you can do this sort of stuff with. And it's around about this much value. So it's nice that it has the hold option. It feels a lot like Clockwork when you play Slave Master with whatever holder, right? Feels a lot like Clockwork then. Yeah, and then you just go from there. You build for 10 if you have the units for 10, otherwise you just push. But if you're going for this overbuildy setup, then you've got some options for 10. Because if you haven't got the options for 10, then I would not recommend this overbuildy setup. Yeah, it didn't actually mean to play level 8, but let's have a look at it because I don't know how this does level 8. I would assume it holds, because Slave Master's good at 1180 value, but Harlot is obviously not. The nice thing is Time Stealer is better than Harlot, so if this holds or nearly holds, then Time Stealer is going to hold. Looks like we're easy holding here. Yep, nice. The tanky Slave Master with the 7 armor. It's really, really nice here. Oops, that's not the command. Okay, so positioning wise, what we've got here with our units is we've got the damage share set up with the 2 Slave Masters, who are going to be like the tanks of our setup, right? They have 7 armor. They spawn their units on top of themselves, and they have 985 HP, right? So these things are tanky. Like, they're properly tanky. So we want to make sure they tank. Then we don't put harlots right next to them here, because our harlots, or our whatever units, harlot, Time Stealer, whatever, they're our DPS units, right? If we're going for the YOLO, then we just have the Slave Master's damage share. That's totally normal. Then if we have damage for level 9, we put it either here if it's a ranged unit that won't get sniped, or here if it's a ranged unit that can get sniped. So here would be like Thunderbird, here would be like Revenant. If it's Magnetor, we're going to have it like here. So Slave Masters don't run in front because Magnetor has, you know, how much range, 180. Yeah, and you know, you just fight that out with the YOLO. If your unit is meant to damage and can't do damage and can't tank, it goes behind. If it's meant to do damage but can tank, it goes in front. If it's meant to tank, it goes maybe extra in front. But for the holder build, you pretty much, I guess the key to placement is identifying what you want your units to do and how important they are, and then placing according to that. So for this setup, what do I want my Slave Masters to do? I want them to tank and soak up the damage, right? That's what I want them to do. They're here to help me in the early game and help me on level 8, and then still be good on level 7 because they are tanky, and level 5, right? Because they are tanky. They'll soak up lots of damage. Harlots on level 7, they're my damage dealers. They're 2-shot creeps, that's pretty good for 180 gold. I don't really want them tanking lots of damage. I want them as alive as long as possible, and letting the little servants and the tanky Slave Masters tank. But they're melee units, right? If I build them back here, right, I'm going to be delaying the time they fight for a little bit. Maybe that's okay, but you don't really need to. The only thing I want to make sure is that, like, you got to remember, they are still harlots, right? They're not, it's not like they're just ungodly fragile. They've got 835 HP, right? They can tank some satyrs, that's fine. I just don't want all the sends on them, and I don't want all the satyrs on them, right? So I give them that little half swap back to make sure they don't get focused by anything initially, and they just have more time to do their damage, right? They get to the creeps nice and early, they get to do their damage, they don't waste any time, they don't waste damage. We make sure that our tanks tank all the scary sends that are going to kick down our harlots. So our harlots have the most uptime for their damage, right? Because that's the thing, you know, the harlots can tank the satyrs or, you know, get hit by some satyrs, that's fine. But if they get like a hermit and a dark troll on them, then they're going to start dying pretty quickly, and we're not so okay with that. So yeah, that's the placement for these. Same applies to time stealers, alpha males, whatever you might hold 7 with once you've got the slave masters. I did the same positioning with Greymans. So we're saying that on level 8, this positioning has the happy upside of Slave Master being really tanky on 8, and these units, Time Stealer, Harlot, Greymane, being not very tanky on 8. So it works there nicely too. Last thing I'll say about Slave Master, level 10, because you spawn so many little dudes, they're pretty good on 10. They're good frontline units on 10, right? Or, if not good, they're a convenient frontline unit on 10, right? You use them in the early game and they did well for you there. And if you're building on level 10, it's not like, oh, I've got 3 elite archers on my lane, it's going to make it hard to hold 10. It's like, no, I've got 2 fully stacked slave masters on level 10. I spawn like, there's 9, you know, between them there's 10 units here, right? There's like, I don't know, maybe 20 hits from bosses, maybe even more, just to get through my front line here. Like, how good is that? You know, that's a lot of hits. It's going to buy a lot of time for whatever else you're building. Anyway, so that is Slave Master. This unit's really solid. I quite like it. And yeah, back on to the next one. Okay, now on to, honestly, one of my least favourite tier 2s to actually play. It's the Panda. So, level 1, 1 Panda, 1 Frostwolf, and 2-0. Can't get away with the 3-0 start with this unit if you're starting with it, because it's really bad on level 3. Level 2, 2nd Panda. Level 3, 3rd Panda, and it works. Oh, it's 540 gold. This is the problem you're going to have with this unit, right? So level 3 is pretty scary. So if you've got just Panda, pretend you only have the tier 2 in your role, you're going to need to do something that looks really dumb, like this, right? But that. So here's where you're going to want to mix, because 360 Panda doesn't hold. 2 Pandas, 1 Frostwolf doesn't hold. So this is the point where you mix something. Let's say, you know, if you got a polar bear, maybe it goes in front. Got an ice troll. Right? You got to build something else here, and I don't know what that is, but it'll be something, right? Otherwise, you're building 2 Frostwolves. That really feels bad. So Panda, I mean, it's probably the unit that you, quote unquote, like, if you play Pandaren, you play it the least, I feel like. Yeah, because you just need other things. It's not really a self-sufficient YOLO, but it can be the core of your YOLO. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you play Ice Troll. You're not going to do well versus Send here, but, you know, you push 3-0. You don't want double Ice Troll. Double Ice Troll is it's just no good. So we'll see, do we cast? Yeah, we do cast. Well, that helps. You know, at some point these Pandas will start one-shotting. Ice Troll just does enough damage to be relevant. As well here, you know, tanks a little bit even at the back. Good job, Pandas. Here, you're probably going to want another Frostwolf to play it safe. I'm sure this has a chance to hold, but I'm sure it has a chance to leak as well. We'll see if our focus is good. It's going to be not the best. I think one of our Pandas is getting a bit sniped here. But our Ice Troll's tanking a bit on the side, which is quite nice. this Panda walked forward first, which will help out a little bit. Panda on 4 is not a terrible unit. It's got 2 shots going on. That was actually relatively bad focus and we were still able to hold. Well, I say relatively bad, this Ice Troll's really done a lot of work here. So I'd say you'd add the Frostwolf there to be safe. Level 5, you're just going to grab another Panda. Panda, one of its best levels is level 5, right? It's actually quite a good unit on level 5. The spell is good versus the flying units. So you can see it's knocking down the attack speed, and because the flying units stack up so much, you'll hit a lot of them with the spell, with the damage and with the debuff, and that's really helpful. And yeah, as you can see, it's having no problems holding here. Could even have done something else like, you know, build a tier 3 or whatever and be fine, but yeah. This same setup, you know, is going to hold level 6 as well. Actually, I don't know if it's going to hold level 6 debug. Non-debug, you'll be holding level 6. Panda's not great on level 6, but it's okay. It had 4 shots, but it'll start 3-shotting after the casts hit a bunch of the golems. And then obviously the Ice Troll is going to start being relevant there. Debug golems are absolutely terrifying, so you're not going to get a realistic result here. But if you're, you know, 650 to, well, I guess even less than 650. If you're this-ish value to, you know, 700, you'll be fine, depending on what you're playing with. Would never build more than 3 Panda. This unit is not good level 8, despite having normal medium. They walk around too much, the damage is unimpressive, the spell doesn't do very much on level 8. Don't build more than 3 of these. Find something else to do for level 8, whatever that is. Whether it's maybe an upped Ice Troll in front. Right. So let's just say you've got an upped Ice Troll in front. And you've just gone 7-4. You're going to leak nice and hard on level 8, but at least this Ice Troll is tanky. So, you know, you can take like an early 7-4, do something like this. It's worth noting that small Ice Troll, light armor, big Ice Troll, medium armor, so use that armor change to your advantage and don't forget about it, right? But you can see big Ice Troll, he's tanky, 850 HP medium armor on level 8. He's still alive, so you get him sharing, even though he's got short range and he died there. He did really well. It's definitely worth having him in front to share that damage with the Pandas. So Panda's bad on 9 again, obviously because of the medium armor, so you're going to need to build something else if you want to stay alive. I would say a lot of the time when you're playing Panda, it's probably 2 Pandas. Like 2 Pandas in the early, or second Panda on 5. If you're mixing it with something and then going from there, but it's not a good unit, but it is playable. In terms of placement, it's just, you know, it's a melee unit, it's all about that damage share, so just straight line, nice and easy, right? If you build something in front like this early, maybe you even place like this, that way there's no like lazy damage share, and it will make your building like this as opposed to like that will make this unit tank more. So that'll just completely depend on what this unit is. If it can tank more, then fine, go for it. If it's not so good at doing that, then maybe stay away from it. But yeah, you know, you can just decide that based on what it is. And you can see the difference in the damage share between level 8 and level 9 is pretty impressive, right? The melee units can't really get to this super well, because the Pandas run in front. Pandas are fast, which is one thing about them. And you can see it died, but it wasn't getting attacked by many creeps for most of the time, which helped it out a lot. If this Panda was here for the demonstration, it would have stayed alive even longer. But yeah, on level 8 it walks forward. More of the range creeps hit it, because it walks further forwards, because the Acolyte's further away. Which is just interesting, you know. So anyway, this is Panda for you. Don't love this unit, but it's playable. Level 3 is the awkward one, so just make sure you decide what you're gonna do about that early. If you've got 1 or 2 Pandas, you're not going to be strong on level 3. So just recognize that early. Don't overpush if it's going to kill your lane, and have your plan in place. You know, have a plan for what you're going to do about that. Right, on to the next one. Alrighty, Next up for our tier 2s is the Geomancer / Clockwork. So this one's pretty simple and you all should be familiar with it, but we'll go through it anyway. So level 1, our standard build is going to be 1 Clockwork, 1 Geomancer. If you have a nice range tier 1 like Spectre, then put that in 100%. Or you can also do things like if you have Acolyte, maybe Clockwork Revenant for level 2 is not bad, right? Because Revenant is not bad level 2. Well, Revenant's very good level 2, so you can get away with that. Then you can get a 3-0 start, or you can cover Warriors. You got a few different options there, right? Or you can do something like Clock Sprite and end up Clockwork and Sprite on level 1, second Sprite level 2, second Clockwork level 3, holds 4, a little bit of that on 5. You can do something like that as well, and it works quite well. But regardless, we're going to pretend that you don't really have other good units. So level 1 is going to be this, Clock Geo. You can go solo Clockwork if you think your team likes just a really slow kill speed level 1. You know, it's totally fine. Yeah, it's a good option. Maybe if you have like a 5-0 engineer start or something like that, then you can do that, absolutely. Or 5-0, 4-0, 4-0 engineer start, who maybe wants to send a Blood Orc onto or something, it's possible. Anyway, level 1 probably just looks like this. Level 2 will get our second Clockwork and we're really strong there. Now level 3, at the moment there is very, very rarely a call for the third Clockwork, right? It's not particularly, it's obviously super strong on level 3, but I would say you generally don't want third Clockwork on your lane, because that makes level 6 really, really problematic. So I almost always just stay on 2 Clockworks, and if I build a third one, it's sometimes for level 8 if there's not much King Gold. But yeah, stay away from this on 3. If your team needs a bit of cover, then you just build up like anything. So just pretend, bang, I built a flying machine, It's totally fine on level 3. Realistically, I'm probably placing it there a lot of the time to get the damage share on level 4. So yeah, that's like Clockwork for level 3. Then for level 4, you just build something. So if, pretend I'm just playing this, I build a flying machine in front, it's pretty good. Then maybe for level 5 I get a turret, level 6 I get a helicopter, something like that. So yeah, Clockwork is not great on level 4, so you got to be aware of that. Build something up. And level 5 it's quite good because it's 2 shots. So if you just, 3 Clockwork with perfect RNG, like perfect focus, can hold level 5. Wouldn't rely on that. Also, if you're 3 Clockwork level 5, you're going to have a hard time holding 6. It's not impossible, of course, but you're going to have a hard time holding 6. Yeah. In terms of placement, I mean, it really depends what other units you've got, but if you've got a unit that is ranged and is relatively tanky / doesn't move much on the wall, Flying Machine is relatively tanky, but it will move. But it's relatively tanky. You can build it in front to share the damage. If you have a unit like Acolyte, then you're going to need it behind, right? Because if you build the Revenant in front, it's going to move to here, and with 380 health, it's going to die really quickly. Right? So Clockworks, they're obviously tanky as hell, even on 6. Obviously, they're least tanky on 6, but they're still somewhat tanky on level 6, so make sure you're using that. But yeah, I'd say melee range damage share is important for these units a lot. Good example is like Clockwork with Wyvern. If you build the 2 Clockworks and a Wyvern, with the Wyvern behind, you're going to leak level 5 always. If you build 2 Clockworks Wyvern with the Wyvern in front, or half a spot in front, then most of the time you'll hold. So that's just a good example there. In terms of Clockwork holder, you definitely can hold with it. Best, like the most common one is probably Time Stealer. If we just pretend this Alchemist is a Time Stealer, or a Harlot, or a Greymane, then what you do is you just build them. Well, Greymane goes here and here, right? If these are Greymanes, they go here and here. This half space is really important, right? But what this half space does, it's not really for 7 so much as it is for level 5, right? It's super, super strong on level 5 if you have the half gap, right? For the Greymane to just do damage on level 5, and it's a little bit better on level 7. It's better on level 8 as well with Growman. But yeah, time stealer, you'll just go like 1, 2, 3 to 4 time stealers, as long as they're behind the clockworks. The placement doesn't matter a hell of a lot. You just want to make sure that the clockworks tank the sands, right? And that's like the holder setup for clockwork. If you got alpha male, then try to get it tanking on the side. Clockwork PD is a pretty good option, then you just go for your normal PD placement. And yeah, those are like most of the holder setups. The other ones are fairly self-explanatory. If you've got a polar bear, then you can place it here, and that's like pretty good on 4, but then it kind of sucks to have the Magnetor behind. So if you got a polar bear, what you can do is do 2 clockworks here and do polar bear here, and that way the polar bear feels like it's in a really nice position. So that's definitely an option for you as well. So think about it. Alright, on to the next one. Clockwork, super simple, y'all are familiar with it. Be careful level 6, but it's pretty damn good every other level. Yeah, on to the next one. Alrighty, next up we've got everyone's favourite unit, the Elite Archer. So, level 1, you're going to build an Elite Archer, and then you're going to look at your teammates. You're going to go, do you cover level 1 and have a carry roll and want to get fed? Do you, and do you? So if you see like, there's a Lord carry roll, and there's, I don't know, a Night Saber and something, Aqua, I don't know, then feel free to just skip the tier 1, feed your Lord, because there won't be that many legs. If you think there's going to be a lot of legs, then yeah, get the tier 1. So tier 1 placement, I generally just do it here. I don't like having tier 1s like up here. I feel like they make life a little bit awkward when it comes to level 5 and 8, so I normally just put the tier 1 here. But there's like a lot of totally fine placements for it, so don't stress too much about it. Alright, level 2, get another wisp, small archer in front. Right, just go small archer in front. If you go small archer behind and the Ferb walks all the way around the back and hits the small archer, you're still not going to kill the Ferb. And if the Ferb goes, so if you place like this, right, and the tier 1 runs forward and the Ferb is fast and the Ferb hits the tier 1, the creeps walk in front of it, surround the front archer, and the Ferb gets blocked and goes to the back and then hits the small archer, you're still not going to kill the Ferb, right? If the Ferb gets to the Elite Archer initially, you can legate creeps, right? If you put the small archer in front, if the Ferb goes straight on the small archer, you're probably just leaking the Ferb. Maybe a couple of creeps, but probably just leaking the Ferb. If the Ferb gets blocked, goes round to the back, and hits the Elite Archer, you're probably just leaking the Ferb and maybe a couple of creeps. So that's the reason to not put the small archer behind, right? Because you're not going to hold a Ferb, so don't try to, Just go for the consistent leak only the Ferb and be happy. Anyway, level 3, bang, second Elite Archer. Generally I wouldn't fuck around too much with mixing this unit. You can, but I'd say you'd want to be pretty experienced doing that, because level 3 and 4 are quite awkward without the double EA. So we won't really cover that. So yeah, this is totally fine for level 3. Level 4, if you're concerned, if you're thinking the send could come, just do this small archer, because it'll save you a lot of creeps if they send. If you're worried about leaking, because 2 Elite Archers, 1 tier 1, it can leak. Generally I trust it, especially if I've got a good tier 1 peasant, not such a good tier 1 on 4. If I've got like a Spectre here that I'm like, yeah, no worries, I've got a Spectre, Anyway, so level 4 you can choose whether to build another small archer or not, depending if you think a leak is harmful, or if you're happy to risk and leak, or if you think they might send and you don't want to leak really, really hard. Cool. So, level 5. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. So we've got the I think they're sending build, which is the 3rd Elite Archer, and maybe even another tier 2. This is like big overbuild, right? But I mean, even something like this, we grab another tier 1. This is still like 5-1. It's not that low push. You just could have better. This is the like I think they're sending. And by I think they're sending, it means I'm almost damn sure they're sending. This is the like pretty standard setup. It's just 2 small archers in front. This is maybe they're sending with the third one. Generally don't need the third one. Alright. But you can do it like that. It's just 2 small archers, it's super good. Or you can do the risky way, which is sell this archer. So you have the small archer a full spot in front. That way it'll clog the creeps up at the wall and they'll be slower getting to your elite archers, allowing them to do the damage that they need to do. With this, I would generally say not a bad idea if you've got spare gold to just add a second tier 1, third tier 1, yeah, unless your tier 1 is good. I'd say maybe a second tier 1 is like pretty nice with this, yeah. And then on level 6, you're going to be adding probably 2 small archers like so, right? Then level 8, what you want to try and get, yeah, so this is like your level 6 setup. This will do pretty fine. Maybe you have this tier 1, maybe you don't, doesn't really matter. We're saying if you're like happy to leak level 6, then you still want this gap a lot of the time. Maybe even you do something like that, right? To keep this gap in, because that gap is really helpful if you're not going for the like super standard build. Anyway, let's just assume you did something like, you know, let's assume you did something like this. For level 8, you want 2 more elite archers, and like you're happy already, right? If you end up with 4 elite archers on level 8, you're having a pretty good time. And then level 9, don't actually need to build, so we're saying that the best positioning for this small archer on level 9 is going to be here. Again, with that gap in front, it's really, really good on the melee levels. So you just got to be aware of what you're doing. Actually, you know, coming back to it, level 5, you've had, whoop, that's too much, level 5, you've had your positioning here. Honestly, for level 6, if you want to do this, that's going to help you on level 6 as well. It's a little awkward on level 8, but it's going to help you on level 6, so I'd say it's a good thing to do. So you can do that placement for level 6 as well, totally fine. Double EA on level 8, bang, holds level 9. Then this unit gives you a hell of a lot of push. Not going to bother talking about a holder setup with elite archers. You see it very, very rarely, but in general it's like 4 elite archers and something. Or you can go 2 elite archers and then a Lord, Sea Giant or Ig on 5 into a Hades Hydra Tok on 7. That's definitely something you can do, and it's not too bad at all. Yeah, the other one would be like 4A's Magnetor or 5EA Egg Sacs, but you don't see those very often. Yeah, last thing to say, I guess, if you're looking to carry level 10, then you want to try and be not for elite archers. Like if you've got Necromancer, then I think what your build would look like is probably something like, if on level 5 you had this, you're probably not risking so much on level 5, so you're doing it like this. This is your level 5 build. Level 6, Necromancer, Necrolite, maybe on level 7, maybe on 8. You try and get like double Necrolite, double Elite Archer if you can, or third Elite Archer, Necrolite, right? On level 8 is perhaps the most realistic. But the general idea, if you're trying to carry 10 or do anything like that, is you don't want the 4th Archer, it makes it a lot worse. Placement wise, we've obviously got the gap, right? Which is almost Archer exclusive, really. But the general idea is these things do so much DPS that you just sacrifice this, throw it to the walls, right? And delay the creeps, so we can show that, I guess. Didn't think I'd take this long on bloody Elite Archer, honestly. But obviously I've got like overbuild here. But you know, maybe I expect to send. So you can see that all the creeps get blocked on this small archer and they clog up on the wall, then they clog up on the tier 1. Then like they find this first archer pretty quickly, but they take a long time getting around it, right? And what this is also really good at doing is by having all your units on the wall, right? So we build diagonally and like outwards, we have better damage share across all our units, right? Our units are going to share damage more evenly. There you can see like the damage focus goes small archer, tier 1, first elite, second elite, third elite, right? That's not good damage share. What you will get is good damage focus, right? So you'll get a wall clog so the creeps are slow. Then you'll get all of these like damage dealing units. While all the creeps are clogged up here, they're going to be hitting the same creeps for the most part, right? They won't be able to reach like half of the wave that's going to be stuck back here, so they'll be only hitting the ones that are starting to like circle around and flank here, right? So what you'll see is these creeps that are flanking around will be killed super quickly. All the EAs will focus them, which is going to mean you just like burn off a lot of the creep wave really quickly, right? It's the same sort of placement principle with Night Saber, right? Where you're just killing the same creeps as best you can, and that's really solid. So that's the reasoning behind that positioning, right? It's extra delay and better damage focus, right? Better offensive focus in that sense. Anyway, that is Elite Archer. Pretty simple unit, but I mean, it's kind of interesting with that small archer placement, I guess. And on to the next one. Alright, for this one, it's a unit that I've hated for a really long time. Recently came around to liking it, and every single time I say I like it, I just cringe internally that I actually do like the unit, but hey, I do. It's Mr. Crusader. So, level 1, you get a 3-0 start, 1 Crusader, 1 Novice. Right, super simple, there's no reason to place any differently than this. Bad versus Warrior, who cares? Level 2, you'll get a 2nd Crusader, right? Level 3, you're just going to get a 3rd Crusader. This will hold level 4, and then level 5 you're screwed, right? So in general, Crusader, DPS wise, it's pretty good. Its damage increment is awkward on 3, but DPS wise it's a pretty good unit, even on level 5. But it's really squishy on level 5, right? So, keeping in mind that 600 value of Veteran holds level 5, we're going to see how this Crusader does, right? Just 4 Crusaders, exact same value. This is not going to do well. We build across in a line for damage share, obviously. Right, we just want the best damage share we get. We don't always get it, as you can see. We've decided that life is overrated. You can see the damage increment on 5 is not the greatest with the 3-shot. And 4 Crusaders, even with like even if you had like pretty much optimal focus, you're going to be leaking, right? So, we're not going 4th Crusader. If we can get away with it, we're not even going 3rd Crusader, right? So, Crusaders are really good 1, 2, and 4. They're like fine on 3 and bad on 5, right? So we can use our Crusader to help us on like level 1 and level 2. Well, I say Crusader's good level 1, it's not even that good level 1 versus Send. But it's good level 2 and level 4, right? So after our 2nd Crusader on level 2, what we probably want to do is find something else to build, right? So just for an example, maybe we put a Prisoner in. This is going to hold level 3 and level 4. Maverick for level 5. And we'll see how we go. Maverick's obviously RNG, but something like this, you build something frontliney that'll tank because the Maverick walks forward, splits. You can see the Crusaders are behind the Maverick, which is great. They're going to share damage for the most part, right? And they'll help you out, or that Maverick will help you out with the tankiness that the Crusaders completely lack. And yeah, you're not quite going to mid, partly because it's debugged, partly because we got a really bad split, partly because you're only 595 value with Crusader, right? You can get the general idea that 2 Crusader is really not so bad as DPS, right? Really not so bad as DPS on level 5, even on level 5. But if you have that 3rd Crusader, it's generally going to lead into you just being forced to overbuild level 5, which is not so good, right? But if you only have 2 Crusader, you can generally play like on value level 5, right? and have an okay time with it. Obviously the Night Saber's like a really obvious example, right? You get 2 Crusaders, something like Night Saber Sentry, right? And you can do like that at 620 value, totally fine. The only reason you have this Sentry is because you're not getting the Night Saber on level 3, right? Do something like this. This is going to be beautiful level 5. It's going to hold level 6 as well. It's nice and convenient. So Crusader, Night Saber, I mean, it makes sense as a mix for sure. Not every game, but it does make sense. Yeah, that's Crusader. It's a good unit. Use it to help you through the first few levels, through the first 4 levels, with a 3-0 start, and it feels like pretty fine. But just be aware that if you have more than 2 Crusaders, then level 5 gets really, really hard to hold, right? So if you can stick to 2 or even 1 Crusader and mixing it like that, that's gonna do a lot better for you a lot of the time, right? So you use the strength of the unit and then work around the weakness of level 5 by not having too many of them. Placement wise, pure damage share unit, right? So it goes from an early game frontliner in the first 4 levels. It's like a frontline damage share unit. Then on level 5, you don't want it being the main tank because it's heavy armor, it's squishy, right? So you build something in front of it to make sure that something else tanks for it, or at least shares damage with it. Then they're able to stay alive longer and have more uptime on their pretty reasonable DPS. So that's Crusader for you. Really not a bad unit, but I'd say you've got to be relatively comfortable playing the game before you start mucking around with this too much. Or level 5 is either going to end up with a fair few leagues or a lot of overbuild, neither of which you want to see. Anyway, cheers for watching, on to the next one. Alrighty, I was waiting for this one. This is my favourite unit. It is like dead set one of my favourite units in the game. It is Mr. Ghoul. Mr. Ghoul's a fucking crank. So, level 1, I pretty much always go 150 Ghoul. If you get fucked by warriors, it's a bad time, right? It is a bad time. But hey, this can leak level 1 by itself. Because I love Ghoul, Ghoul loves me. I've never ever leaked level 1 with solo Ghoul. But I absolutely know it can happen, so just be aware of that. A lot of the time you're going to want to build like a 2-1 with it. Anyway, the best way to think about Ghoul is that like, you invest in it early, you want to make sure, you want to really try and feed it up, right? And get the HP and damage on it in the first couple of levels where it's pretty strong, and then just have it as an above average 150 gold unit later on. Personally, I recommend not building more than 1 Ghoul when you can. A lot of the time, like when I see Ghoul and nothing else that's good, I do this, drop 2 Ghouls and reroll, right? Because Ghoul is nice in a lot of mixes. Ghoul Mouth, Ghoul Veteran. You can play those and be like really happy with having a Ghoul because they'll help you out. Ghoul helps Mouth out on level 2 and level 6 even. And Ghoul helps Veteran out on level 6 and level 2 as well. So it's a good unit. It's actually a really solid unit. At some point it gets pretty fed and then like it just has really good stats. It's a nice semi-tank as well because of the lifesteal. So it does quite nicely because it's fast on its feet, right? If you place like melee units in front, like here, pretend these are veterans or something, the Ghoul's going to run out and it's going to share a bit of damage with the veterans, and then with its lifesteal it's not going to die for a while, right? So anyway, Ghoul, want to feed that boy up as much as you can. There is a standard Ghoul YOLO, right? It involves second Ghoul on level 2, third Ghoul on level 3, which gets wrecked by a level 3 send, fourth Ghoul on level 5, which normally leaks level 5 to no send, and then holds level 6. This is your standard YOLO, right? Level 1, Ghoul, small Ghoul. Level 2, second big Ghoul. Level 3, third big Ghoul. Level 5, fourth big Ghoul. Right? That's your Ghoul only YOLO. You're dead on 8. You're dead to send on 3. You're dead to send on 4. You're dead to... well, yeah, send on 1 is bad. And yeah, I would almost never play it like this unless I have absolutely nothing else, right? The way I think Ghoul is actually really good is with 1 Ghoul. So I might do something like Ghoul for level 1, 2-0. Zombie, level 2. Zombie, level 3. And then something for level 5, right? I might just do like a Revenant for level 5. Now, I would show you, but you gotta remember, this Ghoul has had no kills. I'm not gonna play through all the levels, but if I just like boost onto level 5 right now, and play that out, then it's not going to be accurate, right? It's not going to accurately reflect what the build would look like because the Ghoul's got like 100 less HP or something, right? But in general, this is like, Ghoul Zombie is actually a nice way to YOLO Zombie. It's quite convenient because you don't need to build that much on 5 and 6, and then, you know, you've obviously got, hey, I've got Butcher, level 8, it's not too hard anymore, you know? Maybe if I can't get double, but hopefully I can get double Butcher, level 8's easy. It probably does fine level 9. You know, it's a really, really nice way to YOLO Zombie in that way as well that I've found. I quite like doing that. So yeah, that's pretty much Ghoul. Because it's fast on its feet, you generally don't build other melee units next to it. Because if we just have a look, just watching the Ghoul right here. So comparing its foot speed to the zombies, Ghoul is quick, Ghoul walks in front, Ghoul takes too much damage, because a lot of the time it will walk off the wall like this, and Ghoul is dead. Looks not so good, right? That's not what we want. So for the most part, or pretty much all the time, we go other melee units in front of Ghoul. And we'll just have a look at the difference here. This is obviously not actually able to hold level 5, it's only 510 value, but pretty good. Now you can see that Ghoul is in the back. It's going to start tanking a little bit of damage from the creeps that flank around, but it's got lifesteal. It can tank a few creeps. Like, it's okay with that, right? So you can see the Ghoul's able to survive quite a long time using its lifesteal, keeping in mind it has no max HP and no extra damage. And there's a really, really, really big difference when the Ghoul is behind, right? Much, much better when the Ghoul is behind. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the placement. You want to make sure that Ghoul is sharing a little bit of damage, but not too much. And because it's so fast on its feet and likes to run in front and off the wall, pretty much always you're going to be placing it behind whatever else you're mixing it with, assuming you are mixing it. If you've got other Ghouls, then yeah, sure, same line and pray for good damage share, but I haven't had any with it. So yeah, that is Ghoul. I love this unit. Definitely give it a go if you're ever like, if you've ever got a role that looks kind of, maybe it's kind of overbuildy, but your team doesn't need overbuild and you've got a Ghoul, really just try and mix in that Ghoul level 1 and play it as a YOLO, and I think you'll be surprised if you've got units that are decent level 5, right? The Ghoul will carry you level 6. The Ghoul will help you on 1 and 2, and then the Ghoul will carry you on level 6, as long as the units you're mixing it with are solid on level 4 and 5, right? So really give that a go. I strongly recommend it. But yeah, cheers. On to the next one. Alright, we're just going to talk really quickly about the next unit. This is the Corrupted Ent. So for level 1, 5 Corrupted Ents is going to hold warriors. Right? Or you can 4 Corrupted Ents as well, which will hold if there's like a reason to do that. Like you want maybe, I don't know, 150 gold unit on level 2 or something, right? In general, Corrupted Ent, they're really strong on 1 to 3. They're solid on 4. And then they like fall through the fucking earth, right? Straight down to hell. And they suck on level 5, and they're bad on 6, and they're completely useless on 8. So what you do with this unit is you just use them to get units that aren't good on level 1 to 3 past level 1 to 3, right? That's the only way. That's like the way these units are used. So you can do like Corrupted Ent with Hellraiser or Revenant, things like that, and it can help you. You can do Corrupted Ent with like Time Stealer, is even not too bad as well. And like you try and underbuild 2 with like, I don't know, 260 and get a Time Stealer on level 3. You can do things like this, right? So you know, the unit is useful. It's a pretty good ad for if you're starting with something else and you just want a couple of corrupted ents to help you 2 to 4, then it's really not bad at doing that either, right? But this unit, it's not playable on its own because it dies level 5 with no big upside for doing so, right? Like, it doesn't have the meat wagon upside of super high early push into die on 5. And the other thing with meat wagon is actually pretty solid on 8, which can help it recover. These are not okay on 8, so you generally can't recover if you're playing this. So yeah, just use it to springboard units through the early game. Placement wise, you're completely looking for damage share. Keeping in mind, if you're playing like 2 corrupted ents on level 2 with like a siege iron or something, you want to make sure they're placed fairly far back, because obviously siege iron is going to be your main tank, and these things are just going to, you're going to want to use them as like DPS. So, because I couldn't be bothered to swap between the races, pretend this is a siege giant. So I would say corrupted ents would go something like here, then siege giant's going to walk forwards, be like here, then the creeps that walk around the side, they're going to come like here, and those are the creeps the corrupted ent is going to fight, right? They'll fight the late flanking creeps, and then not be tanking too many creeps and just letting the siege giant do most of the tanking. That's what you're looking for with that, without a doubt. So yeah, that's corrupted ent. There's not a lot to say. Use it if you're comfortable using it, but as a YOLO in and of itself, it's not that strong. I guess one thing you can honestly do is the obliteration dragon. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 corrupted ents, 2 more for level 2. Void dragon in front, level 3. You can even grab another corrupted ent if you got some gold. This is gonna hold level 4, and then this for level 5. This is just an example of like a YOLO setup you can do, even though it's not that YOLO-y, but hey, at least you have some push in the early game, and you don't die with this unit on level 5, you probably just die level 8 with this setup. But you know, hey, it's a cool option, right? And here you're just using the strength of Obliteration Dragon on level 5 to carry you through the weakness, the massive weakness of the Corrupted Ant on level 5. That's just like an example of something you can do, where if you start a Void Dragon, you're generally just dead lane, because they suck so hard on 3, and they suck really hard on 2 versus 3, but they don't one-shots it really most of the way. So yeah, can't start Void Dragon, but hey, if you play it with Corrupted Ant, maybe your build even looks like this, you get away with a little less value, 620, it feels okay. I have no idea if this holds 6, I'm not going to test on debug, because golems are fucked on debug. But yeah, you know, this is just an example of how to use this unit. You springboard a unit that sucks in the first few levels out to the levels where it's decent, and if it's decent on 5, then hey, you can make something happen there. But yeah, on to the next unit. Alrighty, the next unit we've got is Landlubber. I got lucky and got it in my second attempt of picking Prophet, because if you pick the Pirate builder on debug, the repick bugs out, and then you're stuck on Pirate forever, which, you know, is not so good if I'm wanting to do a lot of units in this one of quite a lot of recording sessions. Anyway, level 1 Landlubber. You got 3 options, right? So you look at your team. If your team is not so good versus warriors, you stay 2-0 and you grab the 5 Landlubbers, right? So the reason you 2-0, oh, epic, it's 200 value, you can go 3-0. Yeah, if you do that though, you miss the Privateer on level 2, and you really want that Privateer on level 2. It gets awkward to play without it. It's playable, you can do Undead, like it's doable, but I wouldn't. I'd just stick to the normal Privateer. It's much better as a unit. So anyway, you look around, your team sucks versus warriors, 200 Privateer 2-0. If your team doesn't suck versus privateers, you can go 3-0 with just 4 Landlubbers. And if you want to be like more of the carry, more of the holder, cover level 3 for level 2, shit like that, then you can do this start with the Privateer here, and that will give you the living improvement stack on level 1. This is the worst build versus warrior though, that's what I was saying, this setup doesn't like warrior. So yeah, those are your options. My favourite is the 3-0 for Landlubber, but you just look at your team and think about what you want to do. So in general, 5 Landlubber, my team's bad versus warriors, and I'm flexible. I can overbuild, I can push, and we'll just wait and see. 4 Landlubber is I want to be like pushing more. My team's pretty fine early game. I don't really need to cover them. And I just want to, like, even if I'm overbuilding, I probably want to be between like 6-1 and 7-2 for my overbuild, right? And then this setup is like, I want to cover early game, except level 1. I want to be strong. I want to carry 7-10, and that's what this setup wants to do. So we'll go through the Landlubber setups first because they just are identical. So 4 or 5 Landlubbers, right, for level 1. We get a second privateer for level 2, and a third privateer for level 3, right? If you get a little bit of extra gold, then you can. If you started with the last Landlubber, with the 5th Landlubber, with a bit of extra gold, you can click the Wisp button, level 3, and go 3-0. Conversely, if you started 3-0, you get a bit of extra gold, you can add in an extra Landlubber. So you can note the difference between the placements in the two. The Landlubber from level 1, if you had it on level 1, was placed in a line for best damage share, right? The Landlubber, if you're placing it on level 3, is placed behind, so to help the privateers share more damage, and then this is better on level 4 as well, this placement. So those are those two options. But in general, like 470, ideally your 470 value, need 4 gold by level 3 for the 3-0 setup. Now it's worth saying this is not a strong level 4 hold, it can leak, but I'm generally not opposed to risking it. If you want, you can just drop a tier 1 or an extra Landlubber in or something like that, right? And that's totally fine. So you got level 4 coming, blah blah blah, we go through that. Let's just say we dropped an extra Landlubber and we're just playing it a bit safe, right? So your options now, you got a couple, right? You got the YOLO option and the overbuild option. So I'll show you the overbuild one first, because that's what most people do. Your overbuild option is, firstly, might just be 3rd privateer level 4, cover your team, 605 value, 4th privateer level 5. That's really common, that's overbuildy, it's a little lower in the push, but I mean it works, it covers level 4, right? Or we keep the 470 value here, and then we build privateer on level 5, and we build something else, right? This is not enough to hold level 5 unless you get really lucky focus wise. So we build something else. You can save like 70 gold on level 4 and grab another privateer for level 5. I would say at this point you probably just build another Landlubber, or you build your tier 3 if it's a good tier 3, or your tier 1 if it's a good tier 1, right? You can have something like this for level 5, this will generally do fine. And then you'll go privateer, privateer, privateer for 7, right? Presumably with the 400 gold you get, you'll build 3 more privateers, right? And then you'll look like this, and this is your like 6-1 to 7-2 setup, depending how the game has gone for you, right? And this is what it looks like with just the 6 privateers. It's really, really common, right? The other way is the more YOLO option, so you have this for level 4, and then you get the undead privateer here, right? This is really important, to have the undead privateer here, and then you can build an extra Landlubber if you want, or an extra tier 1 or something. Once again, I have no buffs on my privateers here, so they'll be worse than normal on 5, but this setup, without this Landlubber, has a pretty good chance to hold 5 and 6, right? With this Landlubber, we'll always hold 5 and 6. But in general, 585, you can go 585 for 5 and 6 and be pretty happy. And that's the privateer YOLO, right? So you push all of this to like 7-3 or whatever, and you probably end up with like this on level 7, right? 855 value, 7-3. If you've had some income early game, it's totally doable. Then you build for 8. Building more privateers is totally fine. They're not bad on 8. So yeah, that's the YOLO setup with the Landlubber here. So if you've had the 5 Landlubbers in a line, then you're always going to have the if you did the 5 Landlubber setup on level 1 and then you do this YOLO setup, it's going to be 625 value as opposed to 585, but that's still pretty acceptable, right? That's still fine. Okay, and then as I said, for the more overbuildy setup, you just do whatever you feel like you need to do on level 5. This one is really common, so like the 3 privateers on with the extra Landlubber from 3 privateers on 4 privateers on 5, another privateer on 6, and another privateer on 7, right? And sometimes you like see people going hard overbuild and it looks like this, right? So this is like 3-1-ish, 3-1-4-1, and with just one privateer here, it's like 6-1 to 7-2 if you've had a really good game, that sort of setup. But yeah, that's how that privateer setup looks like. And then next we've got the setup where you have this privateer here. So it's going to look similar, but level 1 it's like this, level 2, right? And then we normally just go, if we get the extra gold, we can do this for level 3, and it's quite strong, right? But we do need gold early. I believe we need 9 gold by level 3 to do this, which is which is totally doable if you're doing king ups, or if you're sending 2, or yeah, if you're sending 2, it's doable. But if it's not doable, then that's like totally fine. You just get some more Landlubbers. You might get the Landlubber out here because you know you're planning to overbuild, and you get your privateers as damage shares. So level 4, hello cat, you're going to build another one. Level 5, you're going to build another one. Maybe you even like full overbuild 875. Probably not though, this unit's good enough where you push a bit early, and it's not good enough on 5 where you really want to hard overbuild 5. But yeah, 4 privateers, then you're going to look for probably like 6 privateers on level 7, like so, right? If you're starting with that 1 privateer here, I'd say you're more often than not gonna be building more than just the 6 privateer, like quote-unquote freeholdy-ish setup. Yeah, I mean, it holds firm if you get a right focus, but you're probably going to be looking for a more overbuild, so yeah, maybe you're mixing with something as well. You can do this setup if you're looking to go like where you have the 2 privateers here, then if you go like 2 Landlubbers or something like this. Maybe you're doing something like, or you've got your setup like this, and then you got the 3rd privateer for level 3, then level 4, level 5 you do this, level 7 you do this. It could be something like this. I don't exactly know about the placement of the Griffin. I think this is pretty good for 7 though, because it'll semi-tank on the side, which is pretty cool when you think about it. Like, because if you place it behind, it's I guess better for like mid-game, but it really sucks on 7. It really sucks on 7. If you place it in front, it's good on 7, it really sucks on 10. It's not even that good on 7 in like the Dark Troll Kobold meta that we're like at least somewhat in, so yeah. But, I would say I've had a pretty good look at playing Privateer, or showing you how to play Privateer. The unit is good on 10, so like feel totally free or feel incentivized to build for 10. That's completely okay. If you've got lanes with better units in the mid game that also want to build for 10, then consider going 7-4 and just like damaging or still holding. But yeah, this unit's really solid. It's fairly simple to play, but it's cool that there are different ways to play it. I'll say that the YOLO setup with the Undead Privateer is most of the time not really correct, because the unit is so damn strong. Like, Privateer is so damn strong. Just with that 1050 setup, it does like really fine burst send. So I would say you're not very often going to use that Undead Privateer setup. just because the 1050 full privateer setup has so much output. But you know, whatever you think is correct in the game, it definitely can be good to go for that undead setup. Just take no feed and make sure your team, if they have stronger rolls than you, make sure those stronger rolls have more money, as opposed to your privateer and maybe not much else in that case roll having more money, where it's, you know, it's fine, but it's maybe not the best for your team. Anyway, that's privateer. This unit's really damn good. Play it on free roll 100%. And yeah, you can, you know, it's just really good unit. So make sure you abuse that while it is. So yeah, that's as my cat knocks over my water bottle with its tail. Thank you, mate. So yeah, that's all the tier 2s. Hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the tier 3, 4, 5, 6 coming out. God, there's a lot to do. Yeah, like, subscribe, all of that if you enjoyed it. Stay subscribed to see the rest of them and see more of these. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one.